Humanity is driven to understand the world around them. Who, what, where, when, and why, which then drives people to start asking questions about things around them. Questions can come from anywhere at any time. My question came while watching the show Top Gear. It's a British TV series focused on automotive entertainment and comedy. It stars Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May. So in one episode, Clarkson, he's discussing the Toyota Prius. And during that, he discusses that the Prius is a delusion and a marketing scheme for the gullible. His remarks, crude as they were, kind of made me think of a question. Are electric vehicles, such as the Prius, actually green and good for the environment, or are they polluters too? So I feel this challenges the narrative that electric vehicles are the best and only green option out there. I think this is super important today because it's something we're told that, we're always told is true, but never told why. And I don't really like it when people or groups kind of hear something, assume it's true, and then don't really check if it is. And I don't want to be one of those people. So I'm not taking Clarkson's word for it. I've done the research and I'd like to share what I've found. Electric vehicles, or EVs, are not environmentally friendly as they seem. Because they have a high carbon production cost and generally require carbon input to run and have components which are difficult to manage afterwards. So let's kind of dive into some of the keystones of electric EV production. The cost of the battery. Doctors Holland, Edmondson, and Jeffs in their 2023 research reason that the lithium-ion battery pack is kind of one of the most labor-intensive steps of constructing an EV. They state this is because of the cost in rare earth metals. So you have nickel, lithium, and cobalt. That has a high carbon emission cost to actually mine out those materials and has a lot of damage to the local ecosystem. A study completed by Dr. Linder and his associates in 2023, they state that batteries for EVs can generate as many emissions for their production alone equal to or greater than the production of all the materials in an EV. Dr. Linder further suspects that EVs produce up to 60% more carbon emissions than just a typical gasoline vehicle. So lightning, it seems like a spontaneous energy, right? It's actually caused by friction, kind of by between molecules in the air, which is then released in one instantaneous bolt. Energy has to come from somewhere. And EVs get their energy from the power grid. So when you have that, if you're plugging in your car, you get rid of your tailpipe, right? But that does not eliminate carbon emissions. So this can falsely give some people the notion that they're truly carbon free, but they're not. Researchers Hong and Sladek for the Energy Information Administration, IAE, it's here in the United States. They claim that coal and natural gas are one of the most important resources for energy production. They account for about 60% of just normal power generation here in the United States. So it kind of is split between natural gas and coal power plants. So EVs have a very high draw from the power grid, and they need that to charge those batteries. So therefore, their carbon emission is tied to the power grid instead of a gasoline engine. Hong and Sladek found for every 1 ton of fossil fuel used, it creates about 2 tons of CO2 afterwards. So what do we do with dead batteries? We recharge them or we throw them away. Dr. Wee and many other researchers in 2023 found that an EV battery has about a service life of 8 years, but they're most efficient for 4 to 6, just kind of depending upon use. Lee and his team discussed that these batteries, unless they undergo a very difficult and intensive decommissioning, they can leach and release lots of heavy toxic metals and acids kind of into the local area. And that's something that's very risky. Alongside that, if the batteries are damaged at any time during decommissioning or just their normal service life, it can lead to very potential and damaging fires. Dr. Voigt, he's an expert on energy transfer and heat release, states that electrical vehicle fires are very difficult to contain. Voigt and his researchers show that lithium-ion batteries actually generate oxygen when they're burning. This makes them very difficult to suffocate with water and to extinguish. And then the water alongside that actually acts as a conductor. So the new oxygen and that new conduction actually raises the temperature of fires potentially. And battery fires Dr. Voigt has showed that these fires can reach up to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. If handled incorrectly, EV batteries could have a major negative impact on the world around them. So most of my research has shown me that while under ideal conditions, an EV can have a reduced impact, but it's not as effective as they claim. So kind of in conclusion, to answer the question, are EVs or electric vehicles actually a green option, or are they polluters too? EVs pollute just as much or more than a conventional vehicle. So in general, electric vehicles they kind of just aren't as ecologically friendly as they seem, or green, because the sum of their production costs kind of overshadows that of a gasoline engine. EVs just swap their tailpipe emissions for smokestack emission. Old, aging, and damaged batteries are difficult and dangerous kind of to contain, and EVs are just not as green as most people think, but they could be on the right track to becoming a green option in the future.